Good morning, good morning, good morning. We hope that the weekend went well for everyone. We hope that you're rested and ready to go for all of the responsibilities that you have this week. And so we are going to talk about something this morning that really touches home with me. You see, in the last year, I've been endeavoring to promote positive masculinity. And I've been doing it by means of YouTube, by means of Instagram, by means of Facebook. It's something that I felt needed to be done, and so that's what I've been doing. And so I think that looking back over this year, a lot of things have really come to fruition in that particular aspect, because you understand that there are individuals who are still lost. There are young men who still don't know what their role should be in their family, in their neighborhood. They have no idea. And so it's the responsibility of the older men to try to lend some assistance. Now, as I mentioned, you have to understand that that's something that you do at your own peril. Because a lot of times when you are trying to help someone to appreciate something, you're trying to get them to see things from a more logical and a more reasonable standpoint, you may end up stepping on a few toes. But that's okay. That's okay. For the 3 or 4 people that I have touched this year who have reached out to me personally to thank me, I'm grateful, because that shows that the work that I do has not fallen on deaf ears. And that's something that I'm going to continue to do. As men, I think that's something we owe the younger generation. We owe it to them to set the right example. We owe it to them to teach them how it is that they can attain to real manhood. Because you understand there are some, there's facsimiles of manhood. Let me put it that way. There are things that they're encouraged to do that has nothing to do with cultivating their future, leaving a good legacy. It has nothing to do with any of that. But that's what's being pushed in society today. So, do I have an example, or am I just rambling off? Of course, you know I do. And so, let's get into it. We'll see. And this is something usually I don't do in the morning because I'm trying to keep it positive. But the whole thrust of it is to help individuals to see that if you have young ones around you, try your best to try to teach them how they should behave. Try to impart to them some values that'll be beneficial to them later on in life. That's what this whole life is about. Passing on to the next generation what worked for us. What were some of the positive things that we were taught by the previous generation that we can pass on to them? Instead of passing on trauma, why not pass on values, standards that can help them to succeed in life? So let's get into this particular video. I want you to see this, and you tell me what you think about it. Leave a comment below, okay?
Say yes.
Where did you shoot that?
Is you gonna have my baby? Say yes, or the next one gonna hit you.
Yes.
Be quiet. Be quiet.
On, where'd you shoot it? Did you put a hole somewhere?
Is you gonna have my
Yes. Stop pointing at me.
baby? For you wake the neighbors up. For you wake the neighbors up.
Like, where'd you even shoot?
Is you yo?
Yes. I said yes. I'm going to have.
So you swear to God?
I swear to God.
Oh.
And yet there are individuals who have a problem with the fact that the thrust of this particular YouTube channel, my posts on Facebook, my posts on Instagram, have mainly to do with men. And in this particular instance, I'm not going to shy away from how I feel about this subject. First of all, let me say that these two young ones, these two people, they might be grown. I'm thinking from looking at them, they're probably in their early 20s. They, first of all, should not be together. They shouldn't be together. Anytime there's a situation where a firearm is involved and the firearm is discharged and the person who is in the vicinity of this discharged firearm does not take this particular situation seriously, there has to be some difficulty there. There has to be some trauma. This person who you're looking at. Now, one thing, if you didn't notice, if you didn't hear it in this particular video, the man discharged the firearm right beside where I assume this is his girlfriend, where his girlfriend is sitting. Why is he discharging this firearm in the first place? Did you catch why it was? It was to convince her that she needed to have his baby. So you mean to tell me, out of all of the things that these two could be involved in, going to work, maybe going to school, maybe volunteering at a homeless shelter, doing something positive and constructive, they're going to have a child and introduce this child into this particular environment. An environment where the father has no problem endangering the life of his girlfriend. So if he's okay with endangering the life of his girlfriend, what makes you think that he won't endanger the life of the child? And now a lot of people who saw that particular clip, some 32 seconds of it, they'll say, well, Marcus, you're overreacting. I don't think so. I don't think so. And here's the reason why. Because in this particular clip, it's clear that two things are happening at the same time. Or should I say, two things are happening as a result of one thing that's missing. Two things are happening as a result of one thing that's missing. And what are the two things that are happening? The young man is unaware of how he should treat his significant other. The young woman is unaware of how she is supposed to be treated. Two things happening at the same time. And why are they happening? I am willing to bet, even though I'm a Christian man, I'm willing to bet that the reason why these two things are happening at the same time is because neither one of these individuals had a father in their life to teach them what they needed to know. The young man didn't have a father in his life to teach him the limits of what manhood is. He didn't have a father in his life to teach him how to treat his significant other. And then the young lady didn't have a father in her life to exemplify or to give an example of how a man should treat you. That's the reason why this video to me is very concerning. Because there's trauma on both ends. She has trauma, he has trauma, and now you're going to introduce a child into this. This is the reason why over the past year I have devoted time and effort into trying to help everyone understand the necessity of having a positive male role model. Let me put that positive in there. Positive male role model. You have to have it. Because if you don't, then it affects you for a certainty later on in life. This is proof of it. This video is. He discharges a firearm in the vicinity of his girlfriend, and the only thing she's concerned about is whether or not he put a hole in the wall. What are we doing? What are we doing? And so that's one of the reasons why I feel it's necessary for us as men, not males, but those of us who have achieved manhood, those of us who understand the importance of responsibility, those of us who understand what it means to try to build something despite having difficulties that hit you each and every day. That's part of our responsibility to pass on to the next generation the best way to handle things. If he wants her to have his child, why not prove himself to be trustworthy? Why not prove himself to be someone who can provide and protect? Why not step into the role of manhood instead of this false manhood that's only aggression? It's only aggression. And misplaced aggression can be dangerous because misplaced aggression leads to individuals making mistakes that they'll regret for the rest of their life. What if this particular lady, this particular woman had moved into the line of fire? When he pointed that gun at her, what if she moved into the line of fire and she was hit? Now, would that be a circumstance that would have been necessary? Absolutely not, because a firearm shouldn't be discharged in your home, and the firearm shouldn't be something that should be viewed as something to play with. So you can see that there's a lack of maturity on both sides. And then to show you how much immaturity is there, she agrees to having this man's child. She agrees to it. She promises. So it's necessary for us as men to take our role seriously, because the example that we set, or the example that we fail to set, is going to be something that's going to stick with those around us. Because you understand that children, that's what they do. They judge individuals off what they see, and they proceed according to this learned behavior from those around them. And so if we're not presenting the right behavior, they're going to soak that up like a sponge. But if we are presenting the right behavior, they're going to soak that up too. So that's the thought for this morning. That's the thought. Everyone is responsible for the actions that they take. Absolutely, I agree with that. I do. But there are some things that you can look at and you can tell that there has to be an underlying issue that's animating these individuals. There has to be something that's there just below the surface that's causing them to do the things that they're doing, and those things need to be addressed. They need to be addressed, and individuals need to be held accountable for getting help. They need to be held accountable for what they do, and we as men, we take a role in that. We take a role in it. We help those around us, especially at an early age, to see that responsibility and accountability is necessary. So, I hope I didn't go on too long. You know, I always do things like that on the Monday. Always preaching, huh? But at any rate, man, you know what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that you do something positive this week. Put it in your calendar. There may be some difficulty at work that you need to work out with a workmate. There may be an apology that you need to issue to a friend of yours or someone in your family. Do something positive and watch it return to you in greater measure. Well, as always, you know we love you. So, peace.